everyone. 6 o'clock. So just to let everyone be aware that if they need to just put their hands up, I do. So try to put them a bit higher. I think last time sometimes it's difficult to see everyone, but I will try to get round as fairly as possible. Sometimes if I do miss someone, it's only because I missed them, not because of any other reason. So that's fine. Number one. Number two, apologies for absence.
Yeah, Chair, we've had apologies from Councillor Cooper and Councillor Bernardini.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Number three, declarations of interest. To receive declarations of interest from members. None declared. And any declarations of interest from officers?
There's none, Chair. No.
Okay, thank you. Number four, public question and participation. So members of the public are advised that they are welcome to ask questions about items on the agenda. It is not always possible to give a verbal response at the meeting, and questions may receive a written reply. No resolution can be made under this item. Questions should relate to matters of town council policy or practice and not relate to the individual affairs of either the questioner or any other named person. Okay. Number five, minutes for decision. Members are asked to approve the minutes of the Civic Centre and Strategy Committee held on Wednesday, 11th November 2020.
So proposed, Chair.
Proposed by Councillor Westerman, seconded by Councillor Monsell. All those in favour?
Yeah, that's passed, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number six, progress report. For noting to receive the progress report following the last meeting held on Wednesday, 11th November 2020.
Yeah, Chair, it's just an update on the decisions that we've taken. Answer any questions, but other than that, it's just for noting.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry, Councillor Monsell.
Yeah, just a quick one. I suppose it's just maybe basic, as always. I noticed it says marketing material for the launch. I just wondered if, I mean, it says early 2021. I just wondered if there was sick estimation for that, or if it's too early to make such a commitment right now.
Chair, do you want me to respond?
Please.
It's a very fair question, Councillor Munsell. We were hoping to do it next month in February, but that was on the proviso that we would have this was back when we were in a tiered system, and we would have had a better idea as to when we may have been moving out of tiers. As we are currently all in tiers, we don't know where we're going to be. We haven't yet set a date to it. We are still in the process of finalising the licensing arrangements for the Civic Centre. So we do have a license. So I've submitted my application for to become the DPS, and once that's transferred over, that will be the last kind of formal bit. But yeah, we have held off because of lockdown is the short answer.
Okay, Councillor Abberton.
Thank you very much, Chair. I was just wanting to draw your attention to item number 13. Members appointed Councillor Mahmood as the second substitute on the Town Plan Steering Group. I believe he's no longer on council. Is that right?
Yeah, Chair. We shall put the agenda item next time, and you can choose a new substitute, because we also have a vacancy to fill, so that'll be on your next agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. That's fine. Thank you. Number 7, town plan, to receive an update on the town plan progress. Joe?
Yeah, Chair, the report is there for you. Obviously, most of the work is really around the marketing material, which Councillor Monsell mentioned. Just to pick up on the arts and culture section, in terms of organising a pilot programme for open access. At the last Finance Committee, they agreed another £1,800 funding for our downstairs project for another 12 weeks. I think it is up to the end of March. So you'll start to see some of the artwork and graphics that includes to that downstairs space that you looked at previously will now start to be worked on over the next few weeks. So it'll start to take shape. But apart from that, obviously the police museum is making progress. The Board of Trustees has met, I think, twice now. The application to the Charity Commission is being worked on. We had to get, well, let's say the Board of Trustees had to get permission from the Home Office to use the word police, which they did. They were then told, oh, you also need permission from Companies House to use the word police, which they have now received. So they are working through their application to the Charity Commission. Internally, what we're doing as a town council, we have started, and Councillor Cockendale started the work. We are now doing an inventory of everything that is in the police museum. So when we come to enter into the lease negotiations with the museum, we will have an itemised list of exactly what that will include. So how many mannequins, how many uniforms, how many cameras, all the details will be in there. So it'll be very transparent in terms of what the police museum trustees will take that responsibility for. So it is moving forward. I can't give you a date as to when the Charity Commission application will be submitted, because that is still being worked upon. And once they get it, obviously we're then hoping it could be 12 or 14 weeks for them to turn around and approve the application. The next hurdle after that for the trustees to get over is the opening of a bank account. Majority of the high street banks have suspended charity accounts, new charity accounts. So it's difficult for the Board of Trustees to open a bank account when all the banks aren't currently opening new bank accounts, because all their staff have been redirected to deal with more general accounts in terms of working from home, etc. So it is moving forward. It's not perhaps as quick as what it should be, but also I think that the national restrictions have had an effect on that. But we will bring you a more detailed update when there is more details to give the committee.
That's fine, thank you. Right. That's fine, no question on that. So number 8, budget update for decision to receive an update on the Civic Centre and strategy budget. Sure.
Yeah, Chair, a couple of things which I'll want to raise with you. So committee well. So you've got the report, you've got the breakdown of the budget. I'll take any questions. I just quickly want to mention the 2 income streams. So at the start of the year, members will recall council set a target of £10,000 for room hire and £6,000 for office rental. And as the years progressed, obviously due to the pandemic and other things, the ability to raise £10,000 from room hire has been severely limited. We did start to see a little pickup in room bookings kind of between lockdowns, so from September through to the end of October, and we've had about £1,000 worth of income against the £10,000 that we set. However, since middle of December, we applied to, following Bradford moving into Tier 3, this is before lockdown, the government provided local authorities with funding to distribute to businesses and organisations that could no longer operate due to Tier 3 restrictions. So because we, in theory, could hire out our function room and our bar area, we couldn't operate that in a Tier 3. We were eligible to apply for a local restrictions grant. So we submitted the application in December, and we've been successful. And what that means is for every 2 weeks that we are closed or forced to close due to restrictions, we receive £1,500, and that's paid directly into our bank account. So when I wrote this report, which was just before Christmas, we had about £4,500 worth of income. Since then, that has been, I think it's been backdated, and we've now received just over £13,000 in total in terms of grant support. So on paper, we've now actually overachieved our room hire because we've got £13,000 in grant support via the local restrictions fund. I can't tell you how much more we'll get, apart from for every 2 weeks, we will get another £1,500. Obviously, it is a discretionary fund, so that could change at any time. But I'll report to you in March as to what the final figure will be. Office rental, we set a target of £6,000. At the time of writing the report, we have already collected nearly £8,500. We now are full in terms of office space. We have no more office space that the town council could let out. So I'm predicting that our annual rental income will be £12,000. So the short story there, Mr. Chair, is from what started out a year of where I didn't think we'd hit one of our income targets, we've overachieved both of them. One of them perhaps more by luck than anything else, by having the ability to access the grants. But it is still good news. Obviously, we have got Nigel here. In my report, in paragraphs 15, 16, 17, I do make reference to the meeting that we had. I haven't mentioned the business name, just I had a meeting with representatives about the potential to hire the kitchen space to set up a food delivery system, food delivery business. I provided what I thought from research was a reasonable monthly, a reasonable range of what I thought the monthly rent should be. Nigel and his team came back and said that they had a slightly different figure in mind that was, if I'm honest, was considerably lower than where I was pitching it at. And at that time, they said they found Nigel had other avenues to investigate, and that they would come back to us. So obviously, it's up to you, Chair. Obviously, you can ask Nigel to say if you want. Members can discuss it. All I would remind you is this meeting has been live streamed. I wouldn't want to put Nigel in a difficult situation of having to breach commercial sensitivity, and I couldn't do the same in terms of our own tenants in terms of what they currently pay. It's not the end of the line. Obviously, it's in your report tonight. You can ask me to do a variety of things. You can ask me to re-engage. All I will say to you is, whatever we do, you have to do in the best interest of the town council. And at the figures that we're originally talking about between Nigel and I, it would have been costing the council more money than what it would have been. We would have been recouping it in rental income. I'll leave it there, Mr. Mayor. Chairman, and let members ask any questions.
Okay, before we get to Nigel, did Councillor Westman have your hand up?
Yes, Chair. I was just going to suggest that we hear what Mr. Brett's got to say on this. And obviously, when we can come back on the questions. But when would we be able to discuss? Because we can't do it now in open forum. Obviously, the decision is going to be a lot of bearing is going to be on what figures Mr. Brett comes forward with and what figures we ask about. And we can't do this in an open forum. Could we go into closed session for this? Only because if the company is wanting to set up within the next few weeks and move in with the next few weeks, it needs to be done sooner rather than later. And I would propose that this goes into closed session, Mr. Chair and Mr. Clark.
Joe, are we able to do that?
We can't go into closed session, Chair, unfortunately, because obviously if we wanted to exclude press and public, we do have to put it on the agenda as you would any other item. What I can suggest, I take Councillor Westman's point that this is something that can't wait until March. He's quite right. It is within your. What I'll suggest to you is that if you want to have a proper discussion amongst members and Mr. Brett, we set up an informal time when we can do it, but we can do it by Zoom, and we can have those conversations. And then if there was a decision to be made, Chair, it's in your purview to call an extraordinary meeting and do the formal part of it, and to do it that way. But if you want to have that formal discussion, there's nothing wrong with setting up, if everybody wants to, a chance to have that informal chat where you can't take a decision, but you can at least talk detail, and then we can bring it back to committee.
I suppose just before we come to that, could we do, obviously, let's hear from Nigel now. And if we hear from Nigel, am I correct in saying that Nigel cannot bring any figures up at this moment in time, and neither can any members?
Yeah, that's my advice to you, just because we don't want to get people into sticky situations.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So taking that into account for all members and for Nigel, that we can't discuss figures. So what I'll say to Nigel is to make his contribution. Councillor Corkindale, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Chair. That's my suggestion. Is could the clerk or the host of this meeting mute everybody's microphones apart from the speaker, so that we don't get a small error, shall we say, somebody sort of like say something off cuff without realising that they're actually on the Zoom forum, that it's actually going out live. So if Joe can mute everybody and then bring each person in when they are wanting to speak.
Okay, so everyone just take into account what Joe mentioned about figures, etc. So we'll let Nigel make his contribution. See what he's got to say.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for the invite for tonight's meeting. Bearing in mind the restrictions what we've got in this public forum, I'll just give you a little bit of an outline of what we propose to do. Your space came to our attention probably 9 months, 12 months ago, where we currently work with Michelin Star Restaurant, where we deliver their food on a home base. So you can have the Michelin Star experience at home rather than actually have to travel to a Michelin Star restaurant, which obviously took off in the tiers and lockdowns situations we've all found ourselves in. So originally we became aware of your kitchen area and the funds which had been sourced by yourself and invested into refurbishing the old police station building and creating an excellent space, excellent kitchen. So the idea was for the Michelin Star restaurant to expand its areas into Harrogate, Ilkley, Otley, Leeds. So your place seemed like a good hub for them. However, there was a few restrictions in place for them parking. It was on like a second level. But the part for them was that I understand the council do a great initiative at Christmas where you create some free meals, and the council wanted to take the kitchen back for that period of time, which for the Michelin Star restaurant was just a no-go. So they withdrew from the process, and I've gone to look on for another kitchen area. Well, can build themselves. So we were aware of you from that. So we knew that the area existed. In 2019, we started our own delivery company. We've been running since 2012 in various avenues. And in 2019, we started our own delivery company, which was for solicitors, accountants, that type of thing. And at the end of 2019, we moved that into food as well on a small scale. At the start of 2020, we then changed tact altogether and created our own kitchens, which are basically called dark kitchens, because we do not wish members of the public to actually come to our premises. It's a delivery service only. So there's not a mass foot flow, there's no rubbish outside, there's no litter in the streets or anything like that. It's purely an app and web-based delivery service. So basically we create an app or a website, and then people download the app, go on the website, pick from a selection of restaurants, order the food, we deliver it. The dark kitchen side of it comes through. We have our own brands of food, which we create ourselves, which will be in your kitchen, and then we deliver it to the customers. And it's proved a great success for us. We've got various locations in the Lake District now. We're looking at opening up in Skipton, and natural progression was, since we knew about your place, was to move into your place. And we have a certain budget in mind and a certain what we've currently paying in our other 10 locations, which we are up to negotiations with. We consider it to be a partnership with, which we would get into with you. So we're here to help you and assist you as and when we can. And as for instance, the Christmas, which you do, we have no problem whatsoever of making that for you. We're in there, we're using the facilities. It wouldn't be a massive stretch for us to create these meals for you. So it's a case of really, it's a partnership. We'll be in your space. We'll work with you. Basically, when we move into an area, it creates instantly somewhere between 9 and 12 jobs. And that's on the admin, the kitchen, and the delivery. Once we've been open for a year, each site is somewhere between 10 and 40 jobs. So the thing about the jobs are as well, they're all tax and national insurance jobs. So it's a situation which we create, which needs to be a standalone, fundable business without me having to pump funds into an establishment to keep it going, which is where the difference came with what the startup costs would be if we moved into your place. But we looked at your place as almost being an ideal fit for us both. You've created a fantastic space which is empty. It's not in use. It's not in an ideal place for us, but it's not ideal for anybody who wanted to come in and use that space because of its sort of location. Once you get in the location, it's an excellent space. So it can be easily adapted to us for a delivery service because of the access we've got up to there. So really, once we're in. Once we get stock in, we're in. We're not having people coming to the door. We're not having, all we've got is delivery service coming to us. So for us, it's a case of creating a rent, creating a partnership between the two of us, something we're both happy with, plus the utilities. A conversation I had with Joe was whether or not the actual kitchen had its own gas and electric supply, which he kind of looked into before, and he came back with that they do, which is perfect. So I'll know exactly how much gas, exactly how much electricity I'm paying. So it'd be so no burden to the council whatsoever. It's me moving in there is just benefit to the council because it's utilising the space which is currently not being used, other from the odd function which I'm prepared to help you with. So from my point of view, it's an easy start to get in there, because you've got a functioning kitchen, and then it's a case of you already have commitments to which you may want to do on a Christmas, for an example, which we're prepared to assist you with. So from our point of view, looking at it, it seems to be a tick all boxes. It works for you, it works for us. So I'm hoping that you agree with that. It's not going to bring footfall to you, to the building. It's just going to bring delivery drivers coming in and collecting, but it's not going to bring members of the public, mess outside, litter. It's a littlest job in effect because our waste, we'll have our own waste removal, so we'll get our own. So whatever we create, we're creating expense for ourselves and not for the council or anybody else. So no matter who moves into that building, they're going to be under the same remit as what we are. That we'll pay you guys rent, we'll pay our own gas, electric, remove our own waste. So to me, it's something that ticks the box for both of us. So that's a little bit of a background for where I'm coming from where we're coming from. And if it's something that you guys are interested in, I'm more than prepared to have another meeting behind closed doors, where we can start arranging some terms and some finances. And it's really, I think it's over to to you guys to see if it's something what interests you or not. Hopefully you do. We're coming to Keighley anyway, so we will be in Keighley anyway, but it just brings the situation forward for us a little bit, because you've already got a functioning kitchen.
Okay, Nigel, thank you for that. I think we've...
Chair, can I just say two things before you bring the members in? Also, Nigel, I met with Nigel and his team. We had a good look around the kitchen. We had a good conversation, and in terms of the business fit with the council's wider plans for the main hall of the bar area, they fit quite nicely, because as Nigel's rightly said, it wouldn't impinge on the council continuing to use the function hall and the bar. And if, let's say, we had on a Sunday afternoon, somebody wanted to have their christening there, they would get the choice. If they wanted catering, we have an in-house caterer who could provide catering, or they could still continue to provide their own and bring their own in. So it wouldn't impinge on the council's desire to see greater footfall in the main hall and the bar area. It is literally just, I think, from my point of view, the conversation we've had with Nigel was just about making sure that there is no cost to the council. So by having that space rented out, it doesn't increase our costs. And it wasn't about the council making a profit or making money. It was just about making sure that we weren't worse off by having that space. But it's not everything Nigel has said there is what we said, what we discussed, and it is right. It is an interesting proposal.
So just before I bring in Councillor Corkindale, Nigel, obviously I've been running a business for 12 years myself as well. So obviously it has to work for the town and the council and the civic centre. So am I clear that what you said was obviously the rent would be separate to all the additional costs would be obviously yours, utility bills, etc., would be covered by yourselves, which would be the case in any normal business transaction. Is that what you said, Nigel, as well?
Yeah, that's correct. Basically, I'd want to sign up with whoever the supplier be, British Gas, on whatever, for all my utilities. So it's not an expense for the council. It's basically I will get charged by British Gas on whatever I use. So there's no charge to. Joe kindly looked, and I'm led to believe that they are separate electric and gas supply. So it should work perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, there is definitely a separate gas meter. So that is it. The kitchen's entirely on a separate meter. A few movement of levers and that can be done. The electricity, we know it's on a separate supply. We just don't know we don't know if it's got a separate meter. But again, that's not insurmountable to get past.
Yes, I have got another question, but I'll come back to that. Councillor Corkindale, do you had your hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, I think actually the questions I was going to ask have probably been answered. I don't think with a separate meter, I can't see one. I know that the consumer panel, it has its own, but I think it's just coming off the mains as it comes through into the cellar area. There's definitely a gas meter. I am a former heating engineer. I've seen it. I know it's there. The one thing that I am concerned about is that we don't get ourselves into a situation whereby we'll lose the use of some or part of our own facilities. We do, and we have had pensioners. We have the pensioners' dances on a Monday, which I'm hoping will come back. They want to use their own tea and coffee. I mean, would Nigel be upset if we had put some hot water in the hall so that they could make their own cups of tea and what have you from it? Because I know Derek likes to do that. Well, I don't know how you want to work it, Nigel. I just don't want you to think that we're usurping your bit and vice versa. And I would probably like to think that we would, even if we were to do it, we would do it in the short term to start with, to ensure that it suited both of us rather than lock ourselves into something that suits neither suits one or the other of us, if I'm making any sense. Plus, charity dinners and things of that nature, would they be able to provide the food such as that? That's my question. Them are my questions. Thank you.
Absolutely. Nigel, just before I bring you in on that one, my question was very, very similar to what the Mayor has just said, that obviously we do have occasions where, you know, the use of the kitchen or etc. would be needed. So obviously it would need to be a partnership where we could still use, obviously we have facilities there and there'll be groups or situations where it would be needed. Would that be okay with your planning and model? I'm sure it would.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely something we see as a partnership, working with you guys. We know you're a town council, you've got commitments. We're prepared to work from you. I mean, although I live in the Lake District now, I was born in Bingley. I'm a sort of localish lad, cross paths. Then I moved to Haworth. My roots are in Yorkshire. I've been a magistrate since 1999, which I started in Keighley, Keighley Force, still a serving magistrate. So my roots are based in Keighley. I know the area. It's had a hard time. It gets a bit of a knocking. There's nothing wrong with the area. It's a nice place. So from our point of view, yes, I'd want to work with you, and it's a case of creating a partnership. Okay. Obviously, the chef, when he's in there, he creates a sterile area and that type of stuff. So it'll be just a case of the chef to come in and do teas and he'd work with you. You know, it's a case of a partnership. What works for us both.
Absolutely. Okay, I've got, if I've got it correctly, for Councillor Adams and then Councillor Aberton.
Yeah, it was just a quick one because I'm not on this committee, but I was just interested to hear what's being said. And it sounds extremely positive. At the end of the day, we want to make the best use of the Civic Centre and to create an income on paper. And what I'm hearing tonight, it sounds like an excellent idea. And I would just encourage that further discussions take place as quickly as possible, because it's something that really, really good opportunity. I'd like to hear more, and if possible, I'd like to attend the meeting.
Yes. Just before Councillor Westerman, I think Councillor Aberton had a hand up.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I would like to attend the meeting with Mr. Brett. There are quite a few other things, you know, the race night when we have pie and peas. There's all sorts of things that we do in a normal year, obviously without COVID-19. So yes, I would like that discussion to happen very quickly. Thank you.
So just before I bring in Councillor Westerman, so I think, Joe, what I'd be thinking is if we could have potentially have the meeting or discussion with Nigel on the same evening, and then follow it up with the an extraordinary meeting of the committee. Would that sound about right?
Yeah, Chair, that's something which we can happily sort out. And I just want to be clear, hopefully there'll be people at home watching, and this isn't about making the decision behind closed doors. It's normal practice to have commercially sensitive discussions about rental charges and terms of lease. That would always be done excluding press and public. It would normally be done on a much smaller scale, perhaps it wouldn't be done with an entire committee, but that's up to the members. The actual decision in terms of whether or not the council wants to enter into a lease agreement with the business will be taken in public forum and open to the public. So it's not about trying to subvert the committee. It's about making sure that Mr. Brett's commercial businesses aren't negatively impacted. If everybody knows what he's charging, then his competitors could go and undercut him, and vice versa for us. You know, we have tenants who pay us rent, and we've got to make sure that we look after their interests. But that is a fair point. The only thing I'd say to you, Chair, is if you have the two meetings back to back, if there are any questions that you raise in the first part that we can't answer, that might impact your decision in the second part, if that makes sense. But I think we can get this sorted out pretty quickly. And if the committee resolve under the item to enter into negotiations with Mr. Brett and to call an extraordinary meeting, we can do that within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So, Councillor Westerman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's just what I was going to suggest, an informal meeting to discuss costings, things like that, followed by an extraordinary meeting for us to make a decision. Because like I said earlier, time is of the essence. There's no point a company wanting to move in 3 weeks' time, but we don't make a decision for 4 months or 3 months. So I'd like the meeting as soon as possible, the informal meeting. Obviously, when Mr. Brett's available and members are available for the meeting, and then an extraordinary meeting straight after where we can make a decision and talk amongst ourselves. But no figures would have to be mentioned then, because they would be mentioned and everything would need to be sewn up. Well, all questions, relevant questions and answers given in the informal meeting before we go public to make a decision of yes or no on letting this company use the building. And on that, I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea. I heard Mr. Brett say creating jobs to start with, 9 or 10 jobs. Absolutely fabulous. That fits in along with the town plan, where Keighley Town Council and other associated members and things like that are out there for getting jobs for people in the town, and supporting small businesses. Fantastic. It's good to see that a company is paying their own utility bills, like they're doing, it's already explained, in the Dales, to do that. I think it's a win-win for the council, not just for the council, because we're not here for the council, we're here for Keighley as a town. And I think it would be very good for people to see that the Civic Centre is actually being used, and the big survey we did is being put into practice, and that's to use the Civic Centre or lose the Civic Centre. And I think it's very good as a committee that asked for the questionnaire to go out on the survey and actually acting on the survey. Yes, it might be 3 years afterwards, but I think it's very good that a company would like to come in and make use of it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Just before I bring in Councillor Monsell, so Joe, I think that would be my proposal, to do that, to have the informal discussion and then have the meeting straight after. Although if there was an issue, we could then discuss that further in that meeting and then decide thereafter. So I think if we do it like that, that's probably the best way. Councillor Morris, are you all right? So Councillor Monsell.
Yeah, I'll just second your suggestion, Chair.
Who have we lost?
Councillor Adams.
Oh, we have, yeah.
So that's my proposal, and I think Councillor Monsell said he would second that.
Yeah, Chair, I think it would be helpful if you could also instruct me to have that arranged within the next 14 days. If the committee instructs me to do that, it gives me the timescale then of what I have to work to.
Yeah, so I'm proposing that we instruct the town clerk to arrange that with Nigel and set it up within the next 2 weeks, so we can have the informal discussion and then the extraordinary meeting thereafter. Obviously, same timing.
And I'll speak to Nigel tomorrow and sort out when's best for him and times, etc., and come back to committee.
That's fine. Just Joe, on that, just avoid Thursdays. Anything else is good for me. 6 o'clock.
Okay. Can you put that to a vote, Chair? You've had a proposal and a seconder.
Okay. All those in favour of that? Yes,
Yep,
all in favour.
Yep.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so so is that do we need to do anything for the budget update then?
Unless somebody's got, obviously, that was a very specific item on the budget. If any other member has a question more generally on the budget, I can try and answer them. Otherwise, it's just to note the report and to request an update at your March meeting for the last budget update of your financial year.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, number 9.
Chair, sorry, Chair, you need to resolve to note the report and to request the update in March, please.
Okay, so we note the report and for the update in March. So the all in favour of that? Is that a question, Councillor Corkindale, or all in favour? Yep, that's unanimous.
Right.
Thank you. So number 9, health and safety update for noting to consider the attached report from the town clerk regarding the latest update on the health and safety action plan.
Yeah, Chair, I'm going to ask Brian to come in on this because Brian has overseen the fire risk assessment. I think just before we carry Nigel, you are free to go, Nigel. If you don't want to listen to our discussions on fire, health and safety, don't feel you have to sit there. Feel free to leave. But Brian's led on the fire risk assessment, Chair, and I'll let him do the first bits.
I'll leave it there if you don't mind the introduction. And thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Yeah, reference the fire risk assessment. We had a company in that did the fire risk assessment for us. They did come up with a couple of points that we have to get sorted out. I think it was just a couple of smoke detectors in various rooms. Plug up a hole in the door where a lock used to be. Just minor things. I think we've got a sign to move as well. Other than that, we got virtually a clean bill of health, and it was 100% improved on last year. They don't need to come back and check again. They did give us some time. Give us 3 months from the time of the original checks to do these things. That is ongoing, and we're waiting for a price to come back from Phoenix to amend all these things and get them all sorted, and then we'll then be clear. So hopefully when it comes round again, we've got it. We're well on track with us and being compliant. So as far as that is concerned, you can rest assured and go to sleep knowing that we have cleared on us as test there. So if the fire brigade decide to go and say, right, we want to have a look round, they will walk away smiling with a cup of tea that Joe will make them. Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you very much, Brian. Councillor Westerman.
Can I just ask you, it's all good that having a clean bill of health. How often do you have fire drills there? Have you had one just lately?
We have, Chair. Sorry to come across. We do a fire drill. We have to do 2 a year. We actually had a live activation. I think it was about October time. It was a fault, but it was a live activation, and that counted as the drill. And he did highlight 1 or 2 issues which we have had to fix. So yeah, we have had one in October. There'll be another one if we have. Well, once we're back in the office, eventually we'll have another one. The one aspect which also we do need to do on a serious note, we had planned for this month to do some fire extinguisher training again that Brian had arranged with the company that did the inspection. But obviously that's had to be delayed. That was going to be for staff and tenants. That'd be for everybody that's regularly in the building. So that is still an outstanding piece of work that we need to do. But we will get that done once we're back in the office.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's for noting. So number 10, Town Deal Fund. Again, for noting, the Town Clerk will provide a verbal update on the Town Deal Fund.
Chelsea, Councillor Cockendale is on the board. Really, what I put this on for was we did submit a bid to the town's fund. This is the £25 million which Keighley has been given by the government. we have put a bid in of approximately £150,000 to do some internal works around the police museum. So, but we, as the building owners, we've put the bid in. We don't yet know really what the outcome of that application is, and that really is about trying to create a much more welcoming environment. When you walk in the door of the Civic Centre, the first thing you see at the moment is, to your right, is a very large metal shutter, which isn't very welcoming. Now, so that has to be there because obviously it's a fire door, but you could turn that into a much more attractive, pleasant, welcoming environment. We need to fix the heating system, the air, I can never say it correctly, air handling unit in the police museum needs repairing, and it was to do some reconfigure works of the reception area, provision of electronic point of sale, so basically a till. So that bid went in. Unless Councillor Cockendale has any update, we are still waiting to hear in terms of what the projects the board will be submitting to government at the end of this month for sign off. So it was just an update that we are looking at external funding opportunities to try and tackle some of the issues that we need to get sorted out in the Civic Centre.
Okay.
Do you want me to
Any
speak?
updates?
Yeah.
Yep.
Would you like me to say something?
Yep.
Yes, Chair. The last meeting we had, there was a short list of things that the Towns Fund Board were looking to finance. A couple of them are not what we believe as a Towns Fund Board. Basically, what we've got to say, the government give you various parameters. Within those parameters, the Towns Fund Board has to be populated by a member of Parliament, which is Robbie, a member from Bradford, which is Councillor Alex Rosshaw, and a member representing the parish councils of Keighley and Howth. That's me. Thereafter, they're all members of the private sector. So we've got Ian Hayfield, who's the chair from Mayfield Robinson. We've got various other members of the business community. Unfortunately, because of the timescales, it's very difficult to everything across in the right speed. However, tomorrow Ian Hayfield's going to speak to Atkins, who are the professional people employed by government to put together this tip, and it's called a check and challenge state. That's not the right word. Meeting. It's a check and challenge meeting where they will be looking at the things that we believe are paramount and those that perhaps might be able to be put on the back burner. In amongst all of this, they are looking to create a capital investment fund, which people who have got bids in but which haven't quite made the grade can rebid again for the funding or part of that funding if they can match fund it. And we're waiting to see what those actual bids are going to be. So at this particular junction in time, nothing's set in stone, nothing's been agreed, but it looks to me like Keith Place Museum is going to go into the capital funds, where we're going to have to jump through a couple of more hoops to get any money at all out of them. But I will obviously tell you as we go along, because I was in there today doing an inventory, and it's freezing, it's damp, and some of the things that are in there are some pretty expensive items in there that really it doesn't want to be damp as it is. So that's about as much as I can tell you at the moment. They are being a little bit close-chested with their cards, but hey ho, it'll all come out in the wash, I hope, and hopefully it will be good news.
That's fine.
If there's any questions, by the way, if I can answer them all.
Councillor Westerman's video's gone blank. I'm only joking. Councillor Westerman.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that report. So there's nothing actually being set in stone, and nothing is being given out for any projects at the moment. No money is being given to any projects. Am I correct in that?
Well, that's my understanding. Yes, as far as I'm aware, nothing's been handed out.
It's just that my local councillor, district councillor, has put on Facebook that there's money being given from the Towns Fund Board to a new park up at Thwaites Brow, and also another park somewhere else around Keighley from the town. Stockbridge, a park at Stockbridge, and the one up here at Thwaites Brow. And she said, we're just waiting for the price of the materials and we're going to buy it and you're going to get a new sparkling new park.
Right. Well, that's not the Town Fund Board that I'm dealing with. That was the £750,000 accelerated money that they received last year, some of which is going into CCTV cameras. Those two parts you talked about, Keith Worth Valley Light Railway have got a lump, and there's one or two others that I can't remember. But it's not the 25 million that I'm talking about. That's money that came. And Joe, set me right if I'm wrong with the figures, there was a sum of £750,000 given to Bradford to accelerate this bid. And they've used that money, and two of the things they've used it on is yon parts.
Thank you.
All right, okay.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, no more questions on that. So number 11, future items for decision. Councillor asked to suggest any agenda items for future meetings. I have Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Not a suggestion for an agenda item, but following on from what you said about possible dates for the next meeting, the next extraordinary meeting of this committee, and the discussion with Mr. Brett beforehand. Thursdays, yeah, I understand, but also can we avoid Tuesday the 26th from the point of view of the planning meeting, which will affect Councillor Abbott and myself and Councillor Adams if she's still there. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure Joe would have coordinated that anyways, but that's fine. Thank you, Councillor Walker. Nobody else saying anything? Okay, that's fine. So the date of the next meeting will obviously be as what Joe sends out, and so our regular meeting will still be on the 10th of March.
10th of March, Chair, yeah.
Yeah, so 10th of March will be the regular meeting. So that's fine. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this evening.